Alrighty, welcome to the Monday Morning Mindset. I can tell you, I'm looking forward to this week. I have a shorter week this week because of some things I have coming up this weekend, and that always makes me think about what it is that I'm able to do in a smaller period of time and still get as much done as I would expect myself to do in a week. Those are always interesting thoughts, and when you go into a position of having thoughts like that, one of the most interesting things about it isn't that I'm not going to have enough time to do anything particular that I may have done in a given week normally. It's that I've been given an opportunity to look at what it is that I needed to get done this week and to literally take that period of 5 days, 6 days, and put it into 3 to 4. What does that really do? Well, it helps my brain process a certain way. This is an opportunity. If I can actually figure out how to get the majority of what I was planning to get done in 5 days and 3, what does that actually mean? Well, that's something that I'm looking forward to being a focus of mine this morning, is how do I get what I know I needed to get done this week done in a smaller period of time? Well, hopefully, if I'm paying attention, I will have discovered little ways that I might be able to improve the things that I'm doing and continue to do, as we're going to speak about today, strive towards excellence. So there's a tremendous amount of ideology in business and in life around certain ideas that we're going to cover today in the form of perfection. So today we're going to be talking about those things. So it's the morning mindset, Monday morning, the beginning of our week. I hope all of you had a very enjoyable weekend. I know mine was tremendously good. My wife and I have decided to spend mornings on Sunday specifically sitting and studying together, which was very, very fun, very delightful, actually, very nice. And so I hope you had a great weekend. I had a fantastic weekend. And here I am Monday morning, ready to go, ready to push the pedal down. So Morning Mindset brought to you by Beto Paredes. If you are listening to this video or audio, however you'd like to look at it, you can join us every morning, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time and 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time by going to tinyurl.com/MMS today. So let's get into the subject here. What I suggest everybody to do is you get a notebook, get a pen, write a few things down from the discussion today that you feel you can use to help get your mindset. Remember, the morning mindsets are about all of us coming together and building up that perspective so that we can get in here and really make today matter, really accomplish some things today with some intelligence, with some accuracy, and hopefully with some progress, with some influence, right? So today's subject, excellence over perfection. So excellence over perfection. Perfection. What is that ideology? Now, I don't want to delete the idea of perfection from your mind, because the idea of perfection is a tool. And so in talking about these things, we're going to talk about that as a tool specifically, as opposed to some kind of dominant theory. That makes sense. More subjective rather than an objective goal. Okay, so excellence. Many of you believe in the idea of being as excellent in what you do as you can, to strive towards excellence. There's enough personal development coaches out there that use this as part of their central theme that I don't need to get into too many definitions of exactly what that word means. But it's to excel, to do as much as possible to excel. We're going to talk about two different principles that I believe make up that potential excellence as we continue talking. But you want to have excellence over perfection. So let's start out by talking about perfection. In our minds, we have a paradigm of what it is that we believe is the perfect situation, the blueprint that we are. And that goes into the way we see ourselves working on a daily basis, what we see ourselves accomplishing by the end of the day, what we see ourselves accomplishing by the end of the week, the month, the year, our lifetimes, what we think retirement looks like, what we think success in the family looks like. We have these ideologies of perfection, and that blueprint is critical. As Tony Robbins puts it, the more you are fulfilling that blueprint, the happier, more pleasure you feel. The more you do not fulfill that blueprint, the less pleasure you feel and the more pain you experience. So this perfection is a natural process, and that's why I said I didn't want to delete it from the ideas or the discussions that we're having, because that would be a false pretense. Okay, so what I want to talk about is how it's used as a tool as opposed to a mode of activity. Okay, I want you to look at excellence as the mode of operating in order to achieve at the highest possible degree aspects of perfection. Okay, remember, perfection in itself, it's an idea, it's a reality that we believe we can accomplish. It's a blueprint, but it's not necessarily what it is that we're going to experience while we're filling in that blueprint. But excellence is something that we can experience. When we are striving towards the things in our mind that we believe are perfect, or at least are the blueprint of who we believe we are, it's that striving. It is that growth that we experience, that progress that really brings us the joy, that really brings us that level of satisfaction that we can obtain in developing towards this perfection. So excellence over perfection. The blueprint itself is always going to make little alterable changes. Believe me, it will always be in front of you. As you fulfill certain aspects of it and possibly fall away from certain aspects of it, even after you may have fulfilled it, for example, working out consistently for weeks and then getting off track for a week and not beating yourself up over the idea that somehow you stepped a little bit out of your blueprint, but excelling towards getting back into that blueprint and that ideology and progressing again and feeling that. It's excellence that you want to pursue. Perfection is the blueprint. It is not the mode of operating. So if you expect everything to be perfect all the time, you will create the opposite of what you truly need. What do I mean by that? If you're looking to create a perfect situation, you will spend far too much time in the details. Details or granular thinking or being distinct and exact is extremely important, and I do not mean to deter from that idea. What it is you spend too much time polishing. Okay? You spend too much time in the belief that there must be some way to take this ideology of perfection and make it perfect. And you get caught up in things that are not focused on the two biggest principles that I think are absolutely critical in developing the excellence that does strive for perfection. So as I've talked about in previous mindsets, precision and velocity are primary functions. Okay, what is a primary function? A primary function is an aspect of functionality that has to exist for other aspects to exist around it. It's a primary function. Okay, for us to think, one of the primary functions is cognition, right? Thoughts require a firing of our neural network. So when we're talking about excellence, we're talking about motive, motion, emotion. And within that excellence, there's two very important potential aspects, which is precision and velocity. Okay, if you know your direction, which is your blueprint, okay, your blueprint is that perfection you see that you are, that you want, that you are striving for, that you're wanting to become, that you want in your life, you need in your life, that definition of yourself that you think is perfect, that definition of yourself that you believe is happy and feeling the pleasures of life and fulfilled. That's direction. You want to look at perfection as more as direction, not as destination. Okay, it's a direction. So with that in mind, it's precision and velocity as primary functions that you want to focus on, and that is what creates the experience of excellence. So if you know what it is that you're striving for and you're constantly trying to go faster, and when I say go faster, my favorite thing in the world is explain it in the form of a sale. If you're trying to sell, let's just say, web consulting services, that's one of the things that one of my companies sells, and you're speaking with an individual for the first time, by taking the time to listen intently, not interrupt, listen to understand, and then when they have completely told you everything they can, spending as much time creating a deep, meaningful statement of worth for the individual you're speaking to, so that they have a very positive, pleasurable experience from the words coming out of your mouth, you will have sped up that relationship more than if you were trying to get off the phone with them quickly to get to the next call, or if they hear that you feel busy, like you're going to get off that call as soon as you can because you're too busy for them. You're actually creating a faster potential to close that sale by slowing it down and being precise. Precision and velocity are married. Okay, they are two sides of the same coin. That goes all the way back into every esoteric and religious doctrine on our planet. This female-male perspective, per se, that velocity, that drive being conditioned by that precision or that accuracy, right? So that particular example I'm using because when you speak with someone and they're so close to buying, just almost wanting to pull out their checkbook and write a check, and this is the first time they talk to you, you have striven towards excellence in developing better velocity and precision. Because if you go deeper into the impressions on the mind of the individual you're speaking with, of the value that you bring, and you had taken the time to really listen to them, making notes as they speak, so that you can tailor or have a precision about your method of discussing everything else with them, you have sped up the process. So yes, it is a lot of times about making sure you do make a number of calls in a particular day. Numbers are easy, all right? What I like is Jim Rohn talks about that there's many equities in life, but money is one that we can count. And I've used that philosophy in a lot of ways, all right? There's a lot of ways that we can speed up our work and have more precision and velocity in the things that we're doing. One of the ways, the most clearly that we can consider and calculate, is how many calls do we make today, okay? But don't get caught up in the idea that making as many calls as you can is literally you speeding up and being more precise in the business that you have. If any of you have ever worked in a sales organization, you'll notice the older salesmen or the older sales individuals usually are not as vehement. They don't make as many phone calls. They're a little bit more relaxed, but they're the ones that always have the better conversations, and their closing ratios are still 2 to 3 times higher than the guys that are burning the phones. All right, that's because they understand this principle intrinsically. And I'll apologize, someone's trying to call my phone. One second, everyone. It's actually a really good friend of mine that I'm not too sure why he's calling. He might be here in town, actually. He comes here on business. He's works with a lot of restaurants. That's pretty neat. I'll call him back in a minute. How's that? So as we're talking about this, so I'm trying to get across to you what the process of developing excellence is all about, because it is an action. Excellence is emotionally motioned, focused action, precision and velocity. All right, and it's not always just about speeding up, but it is at the same time, right? There's a little bit of a paradox in that. It's creating deep, meaningful impact and letting others that are sharing with you do the same to you so that you can understand them as well as you can. If any of you are big readers, I love to read. And I read at least an hour a day, sometimes more. I try to do more than that. And when you're reading, one of the things for me, I read a lot of information about neurology and well, just the brain and how we learn and things like that. And I was reading in one of these books just recently. And I'm not going to say the name because I'll slaughter it, because I just bought it and I only glanced through it and I can't remember the name exactly, but it has to do with developing genius. It's something, the genius within all of us, right? So anyways, I was just flipping through that book, and it had mentioned that they discovered that you really can't increase your conscious mind or your short-term memory to remember much more than it's able to now. But you can develop better correspondences between things that you remembered from the past, thereby increasing your ability to remember things, because it's utilizing the compendium of your current long-term memory that's already in place in order to file things away, per se, and allow you to remember things better. For example, if you need to remember 5 or 6 people's faces and names, you can imagine them in places that are common to you, like your living room or in your car, where your mind's already got certain memories that are tied to that. So my point is, in explaining any of that, is that striving towards excellence isn't always a position of pushing yourself harder. It's more of thinking through and being smarter about the way you're applying your time, speeding up as much as you can, make your actions quicker, make your notes faster, make sure your notes are clear if you're making phone calls and you're doing sales. Again, I'm kind of talking more specifically in that area right now. But at the end of the day, okay, these principles are a matter of excellence, not perfection. Okay, it's activity, it's emotive. You're taking action, you're moving forward, you're taking good steps forward all the time, speeding them up, speeding them up. How do you speed them up with individuals? Have deeper conversations, listen more closely. So back to what I was explaining about reading, okay? If you focus when you read on really seeing in your mind what you're reading and understanding it, okay, I read so much I wish I could memorize every page. Right now I'm reading a lot of Carl Jung, and man, that man can pack some information into just a couple of pages to slow your whole brain down to where you're like, oh my goodness. And what I do is I read an entire page, and then I will underline everything from that page I felt was important and read it out loud to myself a bit, and literally just try to get the most dimension, color, picture from that reading as I can, and to pay very close attention to what it is that I'm reading, and don't let my mind wander. Don't let my thoughts move around. You guys ever read a paragraph and in a book, and then go back and realize that you don't even know what you read? You're like, I just read that whole thing. I don't remember what I read. Your subconscious and unconscious will remember most of it, but it's that recall that matters. So the more you deepen the mental picture that you're receiving while you're reading, the more capable you are of recall. So just like when you're listening to somebody speak, listen to them dimensionally, listen to them deeply, paint that picture in your mind, and learn how to paint pictures and stories in their minds. Because it's pictures and stories that they can relate to, that are deep and meaningful, that get them to remember the things that you're doing. And that's one of the ways you speed up and create more velocity and create more precision within a discussion, is going deep into good stories that can relate to, going deep into pictures that you're painting in their mind, so that that impression is very well saturated and they want to do things with you sooner. Because the idea of just talking to them 5 or 6, 10, 15, 12 times, whatever it might be, is that you're just trying to create that deeper impression, get them closer to making a decision. So I went a little bit deep into the philosophy of generating and creating velocity and precision, but it is all a point of excellence. Knowing your direction, your blueprint. Remember, your blueprint is not a destination, it's a direction. And then acting with true velocity and precision together, deepening your efforts, and when necessary, moving faster for real, just like regular precision and velocity would be. Make your notes faster. Get on to the next phone call. Don't waste time. If you're on a phone call and you had a really great phone call, don't stand there all proud about it. Just move on to the next one. Keep to your mechanics. Okay? Make excellence your strength. You want to be strong in business. You want to be strong about the things that you're doing. You want to be good at what you do. Strive for excellence and make excellence your strength. Okay, Monday, first day of the week. get your mindset. Let's get out there. Let's make some money. Let's build some powerful, beautiful relationships. Let's show ourselves that we absolutely belong where we are in excellence. Thank you so much. Take a little bit of time, write a few notes down about what we talked about today, see how you can apply them, and we will be back here again tomorrow morning.